Hello class, my name is Erica Gomez, and today I'll be discussing the food stamp program, also known as SNAP, and why we need to reform it. My goal is to show you how we can reduce abuse without harming people who truly rely on this program. Now let's discuss the problem and why SNAP matters. SNAP, also known as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP helps over 40 million Americans buy groceries each month. It prevents hunger among children, seniors, low income families, and even people with disabilities. Some individuals misuse the system, causing mistrust and funding loss. Honest families often face stricter rules because of others' misuse. SNAP is one of the most important safety nets in our country. It helps millions put food on the table. However, cases of fraud and misuse have made it the public and lawmakers question the program's integrity. For the most part, most people use the benefit correctly, but even a small number of bad cases can make the program look broken. This leads to more restrictive rules, which don't always fix the root of the problem. According to a 2023 report from the U.S. Government Accountability Office, the SNAP program loses about $1 billion each year due to fraud and misuse. That may sound small compared to the total budget, but it's a major problem. That hurts public trust and takes resources away from families who actually need help. So, fraud cases include benefit trading, false income reporting, or EBT misuse, meaning that a lot of times they trade, let's say, for example, their amount of the SNAP card for less. They sell it for less. So, let's say, for example, they have $300 worth of food stamps. They'll sell it for 100, 150, and that's how they make a cash sale. They report false income reports, meaning that they'll lie in terms of the household amount. They lie about, living with the spouse, and even just EBT misuse. A lot of times they purchase the food, but then they resell it. So that's misuse of EBT. And even though fraud is only around 1%, it damages public trust. The push for stricter regulations comes from these type of concerns, and about 1 billion per year in SNAP funds are lost due to fraud. So now let's show the data. Over the past few years, the government has tried to make the food stamp program more accountable, and this chart helps show why. The blue line represents the payment error, which includes both overpayments and underpayments, not just fraud. You can see that it's been slowly increasing since 2002, reaching around 11% by 2025. The red line shows fraud and benefit theft activity reported by the news. According to data reported from the Newsweek of 2025 and USDA, cases of SNAP benefit theft rose by 55% from 2024 to 2025. That's a huge jump. Even though most recipients use their benefit correctly, these spikes make lawmakers push for stricter rules, like the ones added under the Trump's 2025 One Big Beautiful Bill. In 2025, President Trump signed new legislation tightening SNAP rules. The goal was to reduce fraud and encourage work, but in practice, many low-income families are losing benefits for missing a few hours or failing to upload the documents on time. So what's under this new restriction, under the Trump 2025 Big Beautiful Bill? Work requirement age was raised from 54 to 64. People must work, volunteer, or train 80 hours a month, so like 20 hours a week. States must verify documents more often. Some previously exempt parents now required to comply. Supporters say this promotes accountability, but critics say it's too harsh. Don't get me wrong. I also feel like we do need to tighten up the program. There is a lot of fraud happening. I live in a low income community. I see it all the time. I do think that we do need stricter regulations. However, I also feel that it needs to be balanced and it doesn't harm those that do need it, that don't take advantage of the program. For example, those that are elder, those that are disabled, those families that are struggling with their kids that are working but can make meets end. those should not be harmed. But, I understand that with the Trump's new program or the new bill, it is affecting those. So we have to figure out how to balance it. So how can we fix this problem, or what are my suggestions to fix it? We can improve the system without harming those who need it most. By using technology and common sense, we can catch true fraud while helping families stay fed and stable. So what are some of the things that we can do? We can modernize verification with real-time data systems. Right now, from my understanding, the systems that we're using are very archaic. They're very manual processes. It's you get something in the mail, you fill it out, you mail it back, and we just need to digitalize more, modernize our verifications. Adjust work requirements by local job availability. So meaning it depends on where you're living, and what are the jobs available there. We protect caregivers, part-time workers, and also those that are disabled with flexibility. Prioritize those people. Simplify reporting and support education rules. So there's a lot of talk about fraud and what you're not supposed to do. But I think if we really promote it more and show what are the consequences, and you know show that how that people are affected, just educate people more. I think that's going to be something that will help us. Focus on penalties on intentional fraud, not honest mistakes. you know from experience, I'll tell you, my parents have used a program in the past, for benefit services, medical benefit services, and there's times where you fill something out wrong. And like I said, it's mailing something in and waiting for the mail to come back with a response. And a lot of times is, oh, you didn't check this box off. So then my parents had to be out of medical benefits for about, 2, 3 months until this was resolved over a check mark. So I think we really need to focus on really looking at what is really fraud, and not just penalize those that are having honest mistakes. As I mentioned before, I do think SNAP is essential, and that too much red tape can hurt struggling families. We do need a fair balance, oversight that works, compassion that lasts. Let's make the system efficient, humane, and trustworthy. No one should go hungry because of fraud. So to wrap it up, SNAP isn't just about food. It's about dignity. When we design policies, we should protect taxpayers and families equally. Let's fix the system, not abandon it. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.